Hi, and welcome back to Module 2 of Chemistry. As you can see in front of me, we're going to have a little bit of fun today as we introduce this module, but before we do that, a quick recap of the previous module. What have we discussed so far? We've looked at matter, all of the different substances around us, and we've talked about the fact that it's all made of atoms. We've had quite a detailed look at the atom. We looked at the nucleus, where we have the positively charged protons and the neutral neutrons in the middle, and we talked about the electrons, the negatively charged electrons that orbit around the outside in shells. We also talked quite a bit about our periodic table and the way that it arranges all of the atoms, all of the elements, and we talked about some of the hidden information in our periodic table that you can't glean at a glance that we need to learn about. This topic is all about compounds. Late in the last module, we discussed the idea that most of the materials around us aren't just elements, just one type of atom, that they are compounds, so it's important for us to understand how they join together to make these new materials around us. Let's have a look at some of the variety of materials that we have. Some substances are hard. Some substances are soft. Some matter is brittle. Some substances are hard but flexible. Some substances are quite stretchy and flexible. So, what causes all of these substances to have these different properties and behaviours? It's often pretty much all about the chemical bonds between the atoms that make up the material. Now, when we're talking about the way that these atoms form those chemical bonds, if we have another look at our atom, we are interested primarily in the electrons, and in particular, I'm sure you're not surprised to hear, it's those valence electrons, those outermost electrons that dictate the way an atom bonds to another one, the way it forms compounds. So we're going to be very interested in valence electrons. They're going to come up in every topic during this module. Let's have a look at a practical example now of how important chemical bonds can be. I'll just clear this space, we don't need that anymore. Alright, so we're going to do a small chemical reaction here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by pouring 50 ml of this liquid into a beaker, like so. So you can see I have a clear, colourless liquid in my beaker. To that I am then going to measure out and add 10 ml of a second clear and colourless liquid, like so. In it goes. Let's pop them back there. And finally, just to make this a little bit easier for you to see, I'm just going to add a drop of food colouring so that you can clearly see what happens as we mix these two together. Right, and away we go. Just combine the two. And I think you can probably already see the change that's taking place in there. My two liquids have quite dramatically changed. They've now turned into, or slime, or goo, or whatever you would like to call it. So what's actually happened here? It's the bonds that are causing this change. I've changed the type of chemical bonds that we have between these substances. So the bonds that we have play a really important role in the properties that any different material exhibits. I'll leave it there for today. Head on down to the discussion board, say hi to your peers again, see what interesting tangents you can go off on. I will save you the trouble of what I'm sure will be the most common question and tell you that the two liquids I mixed together to make this are PVA, that's polyvinyl alcohol, and borax, which used to be a common cleaning agent around the kitchen. If you are trying things at home, do make sure you wear gloves and do things safely. We're constantly learning more about the nature of chemicals and which ones are and aren't good for us, so it's much better to be safe than sorry. And if in doubt, don't do it. If you are curious to give this a try though, again, safety first, I've got a link down in the additional resources so you can have a peek and see how people have made this type of thing. I'll see you in the next topic and we'll get started on talking about how these different bonds form.